Hi guys, happy Friday. As we are waiting for the notifications to hit all of our channels that we're streaming live on, pop in the comments, you know the drill. Tell us who you are, where you're tuning in from. That way we can say hello. We will get started in just a quick moment. I know it's typically about a 3-minute delay before we are reaching Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And until then, I hope everybody is having a wonderful Friday as we get into the final 2 weeks of the holidays. I don't know about you guys, but I think I'm still in October, and I cannot believe that we are here at the end of December. Okay, so let's see. We've got a couple more people joining on, so I'm going to give it just a couple more seconds. All right, guys, let's rock and roll. So you know it is the live Heat Press for Profit podcast that we do every Friday, where we are streaming here to all of our social channels, and then we take our audio and we put it on any place that you can stream your podcast from. So I'm Kelly Walters. I'm one of the educators here with Stalls, and I am really, really excited that this is our last podcast of the 2024 season. So this is a very special podcast as well. We try to develop all of our education and information, content that we put out there to really help business owners like yourself really take a step forward in the right direction, where whether you are learning about industry partners, ways to advance in your business, new profit potential, industry trends. And today we are highlighting one of our partners, which is Hanes. And this is a really, really special podcast as they are celebrating or getting ready to celebrate their 50th anniversary of the Beefy-T. Now, this is huge in our industry as we are constantly seeing changes in trends, as well as fabrications. And having 50 years to celebrate is huge for any business. So our guest today is Chris Gard, and he is the director or the general manager of Hanes Printwear. So Chris, thank you so much for taking time out of this crazy, crazy week to be our guest on this podcast. I'm really, really excited to give an inside look to what Hanes has planned for the upcoming year, and to just have all of the customers involved in it. So Chris, say hello to everyone and tell our viewers or listeners just a little bit about yourself and what you do for the company.
Hey, Kelly. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I'm Chris Gard. I'm the director, general manager of the printwear business for Hanes. This is the group that sells products into the screen print channel for decoration, right? So we've got a whole retail arm. Everyone's very familiar with the Hanes retail side, but I lead the product development, marketing, merchandising, all those good things for the Hanes printwear division. So good to be here.
What'd you say?
Good to be here.
Good to be here. That was so quick. So, guys, we are super fortunate to be able to have him here in this conversation. And if you guys have any questions on anything Hanes related, garment related, their celebration and what they have planned, please, you guys know that you can pop anything in the comments to where we can help you get the answers that you need, and of course guide you down the right path. Now, when it comes to really celebrating 50 years of a specific garment, what do you think has contributed to really just the continuing popularity or the ability for this garment to continue to exist and not have to think about, oh, maybe it's time to change or discontinue the item?
Yeah, so 50 years is a long time. And back in the 70s when the Beefy-T started, there really weren't options for decorators. Screen printing has existed for thousands of years, going all the way back to China. But decorating on apparel was kind of a new thing in the 60s and 70s. And for the most part, people were buying T-shirts from Sears or somewhere like that. And they were underwear shirts. They're undershirts, and wearing a T-shirt out and about was almost counterculture at the time. So there weren't a lot of great options for decoration. They weren't quite heavy enough. An undershirt is about 3.5 to 4 ounces, so it's meant to go under the rest of your clothing. But we had a marketing manager on the men's underwear side at the time, and he wanted to figure out what's driving all these white T-shirt sales, particularly in California and Hawaii. And so he bravely ventured out from the home office here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and spent 2 weeks, a week in California and a week in Hawaii. And I'm sure that was punishing for him. But he really was trying to figure out what was happening. And what he found was a lot of people were tie-dyeing and screen printing and making their own T-shirts and decorating. And it was really this industry that was starting to bubble up. And so he said, let's make a T-shirt that's meant to be worn on the outside. Let's make it a little bit heavier. Let's make it in a broad assortment of colors. Let's give people options beyond just white, black, and gray. And let's build something that's truly meant to be decorated. And that is when the Beefy-T was born. So some of the things to differentiate it, he made the collar wider. Most of the collars on undershirts are very narrow. He made the fit of the shirt bigger, so more relaxed fit, not so tight to the body. Made the sleeves a little bit longer. Made the hem widths around the bottom hem and the around the sleeves full inch also. And all of those details really made it okay for people to wear T-shirts in their normal lives. And so by doing that, we really kicked off this, I'm going to call it a 50-year love story in America between Americans and their T-shirts, right? We love T-shirts, and a lot of brands have come over the last couple of years, and this industry has really blossomed into what it is today. But through all of that time, Beefy-T became synonymous with quality. It became synonymous with just a dependable, durable T-shirt that you can decorate and feel good about giving to your customers. And it's one of the few T-shirts that is asked for by name. Even before I started here with Hanes, my uncle, who has nothing to do with the T-shirt industry, I told him I was going to work for Hanes, and he said, "Oh, the Beefy-T." And the way he knew that is he runs a lot of triathlons and gets a T-shirt at the end of it. And through the 80s and 90s, he accumulated tons and tons of T-shirts from these events, and they were all almost always Beefy-Ts. And it's the T-shirt you wear when you're not exercising, right? It's that giveaway T-shirt, and he kept them all. And so, he recognized that Beefy-T meant something to him. And when he got one versus a maybe a lesser quality T-shirt, it really made a difference in his decision whether or not to keep it. And so over those, over those 5 decades, we've stuck with the Beefy-T because it is a huge piece of the business for us, but it's also important to keep in touch with our heritage and make sure that we're driving the business forward. And I think the Beefy-T is something that people ask for by name and continue to ask for. Conveniently for us, I think heavyweight is trending in the market. And so as we kind of swing back from really lightweight fashion tees into heavier weight, it's a great time for us to turn 50 and celebrate the 50th of the Beefy-T. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah. I mean, I think as we get deeper into our conversation, right, there's going to be a lot of things that we'll be able to discuss. We'll be able to discuss, marketing strategy, trends, really who the Beefy-T can target, like who wears this type of item. You just mentioned that heavyweight T-shirts are trending, or you see that they're trending, and they definitely are. It's almost like the heavier the better, which is so backwards, or 180 from 10 years ago, which is very, very interesting. Then we will also get into a lot of just really the brand impact that Hanes has. And before we get into all of that, just to kind of give our viewers a little piece of the pie, can you give us any information about what you guys will be doing for the 50th anniversary, and really how did you approach that strategy to really emphasize the legacy of this item?
Yeah, so it's been really fun to develop the 50th campaign, because we looked back in the archives at all of the vintage T-shirts that we keep that have accumulated over the years, and all of the different marketing campaigns that we've gone to market with the Beefy-T. And there were some fun ones that may stand out in people's minds, but we had a campaign called the Bull Chick campaign, and it was like a chicken egg hatching with beefy horns, and there was the bull kitty, and it was almost like the beefy is a different breed. So that was one that there were some odd elements that came from that campaign, but it really stood on people's minds. We also did one where we brought a butcher and butcher paper and really leaned into the beef and like the deli carving section of it. And we did that at a trade show, and that got a lot of buzz. And there were some campaigns about branding, where Beefy's the only brand that leaves a mark, and lots of campaigns about softness and color counts. And we gave away a fully decorated Harley at one point in time, where it had the beefy bull horns on the front, in front of the handlebars. This isn't going to sound as cool now, but it was cool for the time. We gave away a PT Cruiser that was decked out and looked like a beefy bull. And so taking all those together, the one thing that really resonated was we've been making shirts, and we've been making quality shirts for a long time. But what really has made Beefy part of the culture is the decoration that gets put onto the blank, and the decorators that apply their art or their brands or whatever to the Beefy-T that has really made it what it is. And so as we look back across, Rolling Stones T-shirts and Kiss concert T-shirts and Krispy Kreme T-shirts and In-N-Out Burger and Garth Brooks and all these like kind of culturally relevant things, the one thing that was consistent is that it's somebody putting something meaningful on the Beefy-T that has made the Beefy-T what it is. And so we wanted to highlight the decorator and the creator through this. So some of the things we're doing, we've got a standalone Beefy booth that we're going to put at the trade shows. So at ISS or Impressions Expo out in Long Beach, there will be a standalone Beefy booth separate from the Hanes booth. And then also at PPAI. So if you're at either one of those shows, stop by and come check it out. But we're going to have vintage pieces hanging on the wall. So things from the archive, just to show off some of the different things that have been put on a Beefy-T over 50 years. We're also going to be heat pressing in the booth, kind of some keepsake takeaway 50th anniversary Beefy Bull designs. So those are really fun. So drop by, pick out your design and tell us your size, and we'll press it for you in the booth. And then we're also going to be running some video on I think it's a 22 XL Beefy in the back of the booth. So thing's massive. And we're going to use a concept that we lifted from the Museum of Modern Art from, I think, 2018. There was an exhibit in the museum called What is American Fashion? And in that exhibit, there was a white Hanes T-shirt hanging on the wall and a projector that was projecting all sorts of images onto the front of the shirt. And what I really liked about that exhibit is it shows you all the things that the Beefy-T can be, right? You start with a blank, but really the creativity is what drives the ultimate outcome. And as we use that in the booth, it should be a fun way to show the vintage tees are the past. The shirt we're going to press for you today is the present, and then the future state is kind of this visual display of things that could be. It's kind of like the ideation of the whole thing. And so that piece of the campaign, I think, should really bring to life, this is not an old man's T-shirt left over from 50 years ago. It's still very modern, still very fresh, still very relevant to the printers and to the consumers today. We've also taken that Beefy Bull design concept, and we're going to blow it out throughout the year. And so there will be several outreaches throughout the year to sign up to get whatever the commemorative Beefy-T is for that month, and they'll all be seasonally appropriate. So you'll have a St. Patrick's Day beefy, you'll have a Christmas beefy, you'll have a football beefy where the bowl is actually made out of like a football looking type leather, and it's going to feel like a football with the dimples, and lots of other ones. So we're going to fill the year with those samples, and they should be t-shirts that people want to hang on to, either keep in a showroom or keep in a sample bag or something like that. So that's really the goal of the campaign, is to highlight all of the decorators that have helped us build the Beefy-T into what it is today.
I know we are ecstatic about just what you guys are doing over the next year and us partnering together. And we will also be featuring the Beefy-T in the stalls booth at Printing Unite. No, not Printing United, excuse me, Impressions. At Long Beach. And I'll tell you, we've kind of been featuring this item at Printing United as well as Impressions Fort Worth that happened a couple of months ago, and people have been just thrilled. I don't want to say they've been shocked because of the quality of the item, but it's just this idea that thin is no longer what people are really looking for in terms of t-shirts and apparel. When we see retail, we're seeing those nice, thick, durable, right? It's not the vintage wash. It's not the shirt that's been washed, 200 times and it's just super, super soft and cozy is what people know it as. But at the same time, the thicker the tee does not mean you're getting this super dense, structured, kind of canvas feel type of item. You can still have an incredible quality, an incredible soft hand to a heavyweight shirt. So whatever we as decorators know versus lightweight or heavyweight, we've got to completely throw that out of our minds going forward into 2025, because heavyweight is here, it is back, and you can still have soft, lived-in heavyweight that really kind of moves with the body. It's not just about putting like this paper bag on and being stiff. So if you are listening to this and you're like, oh man, all of my customers love that vintage wash, walk into any big brand retail, big box store right now, and you will definitely see thick, heavyweight garments across any spread of designers. So let's kind of transition into trends as a whole. When you guys are kind of dealing with generations, right? Because at the end of the day, now we have an alpha, right? And I don't know if there's something after the alpha already or not, but I identify as an elder millennial. And, with trends continuously changing, generations, younger generations kind of building their own style. How are you guys kind of adjusting for that? How are you prepping marketing? How are you adjusting really kind of how you are showcasing this garment?
Yeah, so we have a team of designers up in New York, and they are completely focused on what is happening 3, 4, 5 years down the road, to make sure that we're in position. And they're watching the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha consumers and what macro trends are driving them, what's making them make product decisions, what's important to them, and how does that tie into apparel. And so as we look down the road, I can't say that we knew it was for certain, but we knew that there was something that was going to happen with weight and oversize. And a lot of it started on college campuses, where a lot of trends seem to kind of kick off. And we noticed that particularly college girls were wearing these like bigger, more oversized t-shirts, and they were buying things that were much heavier weight, or just buying up several sizes, and kind of letting the tail of the shirt go, halfway down the thigh. And so we knew that this oversized trend was coming. We didn't know exactly which form it was going to take, but we were able to make some good assumptions based on the research that our team did and the trends that they saw coming. The other side of that is color and making sure that you offer products in the appropriate colors. And I think we've seen a lot of things panning out over the last 3 years with kind of these like neutral earth tones, sands, things like that. I'm starting to see that, I don't know, maybe take a slight step back. And it's our design team is telling us that over the next year and a half, that's shifting into mid-tones. Not quite as bright as a jewel tone, like a bright purple or red, but kind of in the middle. So not as subdued, where we had this absence of color trend kind of taking over, but moving into just a little bit more saturation. Fashion's cyclical, and a lot of times we pull from the past to figure out what we're going to do in the future. But I think that, I think that you'll start to see those color trends and those weight trends are definitely already grabbing hold of people's interest. But I do like what you said earlier about softness and not being kind of a stiff, rigid T-shirt. I give the brand Carhartt a lot of credit for really driving this kind of like heavier, more dense, durable apparel trend. They really were on the forefront of that. And I think a lot of that was them being just true to themselves. So they were just the right brand at the right time. But that has driven a lot of trend forward, particularly in this market. And so when you combine that kind of heavy weight with softness, I think you got something really, really powerful that people like to wear. And it feels like a quality shirt in your hands, off the rack. And so once you buy that and take it home and wash it, and it gets softer and even more broken in, I think there's a lot of good things that come from that. The other side of that is on the oversized piece. We launched a retro beefy this year, and it came out maybe a month or two ago. So most of you probably haven't even seen it. But when we were doing our research, we found that a lot of people thought, well, the beefy's not as heavy or it's not as big as it used to be. And in reality, the spec is essentially the same as it was over the last 50 years, but relative to other shirts available, it doesn't feel as heavy, right? Because you were comparing a 4.5 to a 6 ounce, and now you're comparing a 5.5 to a 6 ounce. And it hasn't gotten any smaller. I think that we as Americans have maybe just gotten a little bit bigger. So we set out to make that T-shirt that was the perception that people had from the past. And so we've oversized it and made it 7 ounces. So we launched the retro beefy and really leaned into that perception, because I think perception is reality. And we wanted to tap into the trend and, give people something that they were looking for. So that 7 ounce oversized Beefy-T is available now if anybody's interested in grabbing that and trying it out.
That 7 ounces almost kind of makes the OG beefy. This is what I'm going to call it. It really kind of changes your perception of what's really heavyweight and what's really lightweight. Because when you touch that 7 and then you go to a 4, it's like, oh, a 4 is actually just a standard T. We've just been conditioned that thinner was better for the longest time. And that's just because of trends, right? If that's what we see in retail that people can buy and you're almost kind of forced to wear, then you kind of learn to love that. And then now it's 7 and 9 ounce tees, and that midweight of 4 to 5, maybe even 6 feels normal. So it's really interesting, the psychology of what we see in retail and really what's kind of pushed upon us. And I say pushed in a nice way, not a like, oh, you have to wear this. It's just the repetitiveness of seeing the same type of shirt over and over. And then you think, okay, well, maybe this is the norm, or you just can't find anything else, and you are forced to go into that.
That's the issue, right? I think inventory drives the purchase decision more than price a lot of times. So.
For sure. So Jeff actually had an inquisitive question. I know it's hard to release info, but have you thought about adding something competitive to all of these new form-fitting t-shirts? Hanes is a staple in the business and love it. I'm actually interested to hear more about form-fitting, because I am still finding very, very boxy, cropped or oversized. It is, I feel like, rare on my end, both decoration industry and retail industry, that I don't see a whole lot of form fitting unless they are kind of that Lululemon, Alo or Aloe fitted athletic style, not so much a cotton or cotton and poly. So do you have any thoughts or forecasting on this?
Yeah, none of our trending has said that we really need to go deep into form fitting. There's always going to be a piece of the market that's asking for different fits. And a lot of our t-shirts are classic fit or relaxed. We've done a couple of slim fits in the past. The challenge is that we want things that last 5 or 10 years so that people feel good about putting them into programs, that they know that it's not going to come and go. And so when their customer comes back to order it again, it's still there. And so at this time, we're not going to chase form fitting. We'll continue to watch it and see if fits shrink back into smaller sizes, then sure, we'll look at it again, but not at this time. That's a good question, though.
There was a compliment from Dennis saying, Hanes Beefy-T all day. I had DTG on a Beefy over 7 years ago and it still looks good. So I think that's a huge testament to quality. To have an item for 7 years is huge, one, right? But to still have the print and the item be intact and still feel like it is, when you first got it. I think that's huge. And especially with the trend of eco-friendly or less waste, just more earth awareness. I think it's huge to be able to have the longevity in an item, just like you were saying, and being able to hold on to that or want to hold on to that versus toss it out into a landfill or potentially upcycle it in another way.
Yeah, let me just make a quick comment on that. So from a DTG perspective, cotton is perfect for direct to garment. And one thing that we do with our Beefy-T in particular, we have a process called clean canvas, and it's really a finishing and dyeing process that we send the fabric through. But we do that with the printer in mind. And so what clean canvas does is we strip away all of the dirt, oils, waxes, any kind of impurities that naturally occur in cotton when you spin cotton and then knit it into a t-shirt. You want to get all of that dirty stuff out and make sure that you're starting with the cleanest possible surface. When you do that, it increases the absorption of the surface of the fabric, and we want to control the absorption. So printability is all about controlling the perfect amount of absorption so that the inks kind of sink into the fabric just enough that they hold on, but they don't sink all the way through. So if it's too much absorption, the inks are going right through the back of the shirt, and you'll see that on the inside. But if it's not enough, it won't stick to the fibers well enough to hold that print wash after wash or 7 years, like Dennis is calling out. And so we wanted to make sure that we were controlling that level of absorption, the perfect amount. So our finishing and softener process is really what helps us to fine tune that absorption level. Now, the key thing here is across the range of colors, can you be consistent? Because a lot of people will print the white shirts and say they printed great, and then they'll print black shirts and say it really didn't print all that well. And that's because when you're dyeing black, you can skip some of those prep steps and not take all the waxes and impurities out because you're not going to see it. You're dumping a bunch of black dye onto the surface of the shirt or into the fabric, and so it covers up all of those impurities. We don't skip that step. We make sure that we pull all of those impurities out of every color, no matter which color we're going to dye it, because we know it has an impact on printability, and it's critically important. So thanks for calling that out, Dennis. That's a good launching point.
Dave Connor said, Hanes Beefy-T is awesome to print and awesome to wear too. Excited for more heavyweights. So I think that is definitely true in the industry, as we're all excited to kind of see where heavyweights takes us, over the next several years, especially as it's been ramping up over the last two. I feel like I started to see the tiptoe or entry of more heavyweights about 3 years ago, and really 23 and 24 was the amplification that heavyweight was coming back. And just like you're saying with forecasting and kind of seeing different trends where we're seeing it. I'm in Kansas City. I'm smack dab, in the middle of the states. And it does take trends a little bit longer to get here from a mass state. But if we've got people that are watching what's going on in pulp culture, they're going to naturally be purchasing where they can. And a lot of that does come from one of the coasts. So I'll be interested to see if the middle of America kind of starts to run a little bit faster with, garment trends that we're seeing. Maybe not so much decoration or particular branding, but just the weight of garments overall. We have many comments, so I want to keep this going, and then we can kind of tie in some of those towards the back end as well. When we are, kind of talking about pulp culture trends can go into pulp culture. What type of collaborations has the Beefy-T been involved in over the years, or do you have anything specific coming up for the future?
We have, there have been a couple brands that have chosen the Beefy-T and really leaned into it through the years. We had a long stretch with, it may be more local to me, but there's a beach shop down in South Carolina called Salty Dog that does their own printing. And we run into those shirts all over the place. In-N-Out Burger used the Beefy-T for a very long time. We had Sam Adams on the Beefy-T for a long time. I think there's some other brands that I'm probably not thinking of right off the top of my head. At the same time at retail, we've had retail buyers actually reach out to us on the retail side and say, we want to bring the Beefy-T into our stores. And one of the most popular ones was Urban Outfitters. They brought Beefy in, and they actually wanted to put the Bull logo on the outside of the shirt. And that cool. was received really well. It sold really well. And so, we'll continue to explore some of those things. It is going to be one of the pillars in 2026 of like total global Hanes. There's it'll be the 125th anniversary of Hanes, and I won't share too much about that, but it'll be kind of a focus point for the total Hanes brand as one of the icons of 125 years of the Hanes brand. So I'm sure there will be more to come with that, and the brand team may not even tell me everything that they're going to work on leading into that. So it'll be fun to watch.
Secrets don't make friends, so right, like you're gonna have to go to them and ask. As we kind of wrap up the last part of our podcast, there's still several things that I really want our viewers and listeners to hear about Hanes. But what do you see that is next for the Beefy-T? I mean, here we are at 50, and next milestone is 75. Actually, every year is a milestone, right? But a lot of times it's the 50, then the 75. But, what directives is Hanes doing to continue moving forward, whether it is kind of highlighting the eco focus at this moment, staying relevant, innovative? How do you do that for something that has been around for 50 years?
Yeah, we know that. I think there's two parts in there that I wanted to touch on. From a purely from a Beefy standpoint, we recognize that brand has legs beyond just t-shirts. We've done it in the past. We've run lighter weight versions of Beefy called Beefy Silver. We actually made a Beefy board short at one point in the history of the Beefy brand that changed colors when you went in the ocean. That didn't hang around for a long time. We've done Beefy ringers, but there's lots of different things that we've done. We think that there's an opportunity, particularly with the weight emphasis and the name Beefy, to go into Beefy sweats. So we're exploring that. There may be something that comes in 2025 related to that. But we think that we've got license to go and expand the category and try some different things. And as we've talked to different partners in the industry, it's been really well received as a concept. And so we'll continue to explore that. As far as moving the brand Hanes forward and how we stay current, we know that from an eco standpoint, standing still is not acceptable, right? Mm-hmm. We're always moving forward. Hanes as a brand was one of the first to bring recycled polyester into garments. And we did that in a big way. Recycled polyester is a great benefit above virgin polyester. However, we think there's another step forward that we can make from there. And so starting maybe 2 years ago, and it's a big engine and a big ship to turn, we started transitioning our recycled polyester into a form of polyester that breaks down either in a landfill or in the ocean if it's the fibers that get out. And it allows microorganisms to actually consume them for their own metabolic purposes. So we're calling it EcoSmart polyester, but we've added that EcoSmart polyester to our polyester at the melt extrusion phase, and it allows that polyester to break down, similar to the way cotton or wool would break down. So you're getting it's breaking down in 2 or 3 years versus 200 or 300 years. And one of the biggest contributors to microplastics in the ocean is actually this polyester that comes off of the lint of the garments and gets into the water, and it just kind of stays there and it doesn't go anywhere. So 30% of the microplastics in the ocean actually come from home laundering of apparel. And we recognize that is a huge problem and something that we can actually take action on. So by adding this EcoSmart polyester into our poly, and we're flowing it into all of our garments across the board with no cost passed along to the consumer, because we know that this is something that we can control and we don't want it to be a hindrance. So that's something big that we're doing. We haven't marketed it in a big way because it takes so much time to get it through our inventory, through the wholesaler inventory, but we wanted to get way out in front of it. And we're the first brand that has done anything like that in this industry. And I haven't even heard of anyone else that has plans to move into something like that. So that's going to be a huge step forward for us. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. We just wanted to make sure that we are doing everything we can to be protective of the planet and the environment. So that's a big thing. And then there's other things that we do. We own our own supply chain, so we focus a lot on the people and the product and the planet, and using those 3 pillars. How can we drive product forward and make sure that we are doing everything we can to be mindful and respectful? So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I hope our listeners really kind of grab a hold of everything with what you just said, because that's huge. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how the marketing kind of plays about that and the education. I know from Stall's perspective, just group Stall as a whole, we've done a lot of education on eco-friendly or just understanding brand sustainability, and really kind of helping decorators decorate with a purpose, to where whomever they're decorating for actually wants to wear the garment, right? There's a lot of times we get garments in corporations or businesses, and it's just there to serve a single purpose, not meant to be something that you necessarily always want to go grab out of your closet, or something you're more or less forced to wear. And we try to do a lot of positioning and understanding that, eco-friendly products, eco ways to decorate, understanding who you're decorating for, and being able to speak on the actual sustainability of that garment, I think will just be really, really cool to continue to highlight and focus. I think it's huge. Whatever movement in the eco push people are moving towards, I think it's great, but I think this is definitely a huge move that others are definitely going to want to follow. So I hope you guys are buckled up for for that movement.
Yeah, more to come on that. And we've actually seen it at retail a lot. I mean, it's already starting. You may notice it a lot of times, like Target's private label products use a similar process on the polyester. It'll be tiny on a hang tag, and they may not make a big splash about it, but I think over time it'll be one of those technologies that really gets some momentum over the next couple of years, particularly as we focus on microplastics in the environment and what we can do to minimize that.
For sure. So as the director of marketing, what's your personal connection to the Beefy-T, and what excites you the most about this? I mean, this is huge. This is a big push, and you've got you've got a lot to cover. So where are you at enthusiastically?
Yeah, as I started this role, I don't know, close to 10 years ago now, joining Hanes, I didn't pay attention to the neck labels in the back of the shirts in the t-shirt drawer. But as I started to go back through, I've got college shirts and fraternity shirts and all sorts of things. Just over the years, I've got a 1996 Atlanta Olympics Beefy-T that's awesome and has held up great. I mean, it's funny when you start to pay attention how much you come into contact with these product categories, and
sure.
Most consumers don't even realize it. But that that personal connection and realizing those moments in time where I went and did something fun and felt compelled to get the t-shirt. I throw that t-shirt on. It is a time machine that takes you back to that moment and lets you relive the day. And it's a great reminder of things you've done, things you've seen, people you've been with. So I think that's what it's all about. I think that's why people buy t-shirts and love t-shirts. And so I think that's a strong reason for going after the t-shirt industry. And it's a fun business. I love the people I work with and who we come in contact with. And so that's why I do
it. So we're gonna wrap up, and I'm gonna share a couple things. Greg asked, what trend shocked you the most in 2024?
Let's see. What shocked me most in 24? I guess I'm going to say how fast heavyweight has come on strong. I think that even with garment dye products that are kind of that heavier weight, the brands that came out with 9 and 10 ounce t-shirts, they're not going to sell a tremendous amount of volume, but that's heavier than most people's sweatshirts. That thing's like you're wearing a blanket or a rug or something. So that has happened way faster than we anticipated. So yeah, I'd say that's the biggest shock of all is, we see some of these print shops that do a really good job with marketing and education, pulling out blank brands. And, it's like a 2-ply t-shirt that's like 11 or 12 ounces. I mean, that feels way out of where we were a couple of years ago with, 4 ounces being the norm. So it's like you're wearing 3 t-shirts.
It is no need for a sweatshirt, even though yes, depending on the area, but it's like layer upon layer upon layer takes us back.
Just don't get caught in the rain, right? The thing's going to weigh you down.
Yeah, that's it always makes me think of like the 100% cotton polos back in early 2000s or even the 90s, where it was layered upon layer and just popped collar, lots of colors. It's just what it reminds me of, but all put into one. Last but not least, oops, we already had that one. Jeff did say, thank you for your detailed answer. I'm a little behind and he had to take a work call. That's the beauty of being able to listen or go back and replay this live or wait until next Friday when the podcast is released. Now, Scotty did say, so glad to see it make a comeback. Those lightweight shirts are not flattering on us larger men. Scotty, I'm glad you like the heavyweight, man. He's part of our team, and I just like to see when people are, actually excited about product, thing that we had to question about fitted, and then now several people saying that they actually really enjoy the heavyweight. So to wrap up, first, thank you so much for your time today, Chris. I really appreciated all of the information that you've shared with us. Is extremely valuable, and it makes me even more excited about 2025 and just continuing to partner with you guys on collaborations and garments and education. But I do look forward the most to just seeing how our industry is going to change for decorators, seeing that Hanes is both part of retail and, the blank industry, the blank garment industry. How can people kind of stay up to date and follow along where Hanes or Hanes Beefy-T really kind of is in the industry, if there's other partner collaborations going on as well?
Yeah, so you can follow us at Brandwear United on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. We post regularly there, so you can keep along with what's going on. And then on our website, brandwareunited.com, and also through most of the wholesalers in the industry, we've got big plans to partner with each of them on different marketing efforts. So follow along.
There will be more to come from us. I know you will see, you as in the viewers, our customers, you guys will see more content and education as those months kind of develop, where we have definitely partnered with them. So it'll be really exciting. I've gotten a sneak peek at some stuff, and I won't spoil anything, but it's definitely going to be some really cool projects that we're working on. For those of you that are not part of our Heat Press for Profit Facebook group, go join the group. It's nothing but like-minded decorators, some that are brand new, and some that have been in the industry for over 30 years. We've got a mix of people that are doing direct screen print, direct embroidery, solely heat printing in their business. And it's a great way to learn from each other, ask questions, see what's going on in different parts of the country, especially from a decorator standpoint. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen and chime in on our conversation. If you want to be more involved, make sure you are following our podcast. Make sure you follow us on all of our social platforms as we post regularly. And of course, you can see us live week to week. Now, like I said, this was the last podcast of 2024. So until next time, happy holidays, happy new year, and we will see you in 2025. And Chris, again, thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again.
Bye, guys.